or someone would ask me the other day, she's like, what are you going to do when you actually find someone really similar to you? Would you get along? I was like, gosh, no way. Welcome back, everybody. So today we've got another guest on the show, all the way from the UK, which is currently in lockdown. So I'd like to say hey to Andy Rouse, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Fusion Tech. Now, Andy, you've got that's just one of the things you're running at the moment. Can you give us a quick little summary of some of the other things that you take a hand in?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank both you, Lee, and you, Sam, for inviting me on the show. And I've been following it a while now, and I think you're doing absolutely fantastic things, and I can only see this growing.
Thank you.
So to my advantage for you to invite me on will just grow my profile, and I'm very, very humble for you to actually consider me here over in the UK. My business interests are varied. So Fusion Interactive Corporation is a listed technology corporation over in the US, which has a global set of businesses which all combine to bring a smart city or smart city solution. So that's telecoms, video conferencing, many different things that are all aimed at that one thing, based around IoT and all that technology. Then in the UK, I run a company called Pinnacle, which is a business accelerator for innovative companies. But that's based in London, but it can be anywhere. So that's businesses around the globe we've been involved in. And that's a set of industry leaders in different businesses that all join forces to help a business scale. And it's just, we decided one day, I guess like you with your podcast, that there was a need there, and we've got a lot of grey matter that we could help people. So that's how that has come along. Then I'm actually Chief Strategy Officer for a business called 1HE, which is a global edtech platform, which is based out of York St John University in the UK, but is actually a global platform now for educators around the world in higher education, and helping them solve problems that they come across, because there's not that much backup in higher education. And I never knew this until I actually got involved. And the more I've got involved, the more it's won me over. It's not actually a social enterprise, but it operates like one. It's profit for good, it's business for purpose, it gives back. And then I'm also an angel investor in a watch company, which is Ties Timepieces and Harper Rose. Yep. Which is, Harper Rose is quite a successful ladies' watch company, and Ties Timepieces is gents. But we also do a white label product. So we actually make watches for other companies. So this is for the Petronas Yamaha MotoGP team.
Oh, I've heard of that. And that's amazing.
Which is one of these, and they're fantastic. They're actually better quality than the ones we actually sell. So, and then I'm a partner in a film company based out of Pinewood Studios, which is the film industry is very much feast and famine. So sometimes it can be really, really good, sometimes really, really bad. So you've got to plan a lot for tough days in that industry. Then I also sit on the what we call a LEP in the UK, the Local Enterprise Partnership, which is a county-wide body that brings investment in from national government to local government. I think this past year, we actually had the AGM of that today, and I think we've brought in £335 million worth of investment to our local area here, where we are in the UK, in the Humber Estuary. And then I think we've created 7,000 jobs in the past year from that. Then I'm also a governor at my old high school, which is a great passion of mine, because sadly I didn't attend high school enough, and it's good to give back to your local area. and the head teacher won me over there. So what I would say is, I never attended school that much. I was always in the snooker hall or the pool hall when I was at a really young age. And I went to meet him, and he for once he was late and I wasn't. And I asked him where he'd been, and he said, "I've had 3 children not turn up for school today, and I've been to their houses to actually go get them in my car. And so, how could you not get involved with that school with someone like that?"
Mm.
I also sit on the mentorship steering group for a thing called Pitch at the Palace, which is formerly based out of Buckingham Palace, which was set up originally by a member of the British royal family, which is no longer the case now, but that's just been rebranded, which has brought millions and millions of pounds of investment and help to scale up businesses around the globe. And they have these events at various palaces all over the world. So we do Pitch of the Palace Global, Pitch of the Palace Africa, and it's a lot of business leaders on there that are way more impressive than me, that help everybody on that program. So yeah,
you'd be rubbing shoulders with probably some of the top tier business people globally.
oh yeah, it's the people from Dragon's Den in the UK. You know, it's a who's who of anybody who's been involved in that in days gone by at various locations.
So,
And why wouldn't they?
so Andy, like, I can only imagine how many stakeholders you have to interact with. How do you keep yourself calm on a stressful day?
Well, I'm lucky that I've got a beach where I am through lockdown. I'm in the north of England, northeast of England, and actually it's a little town called Cleethorpes, which is near Yorkshire, and it's in a county called Lincolnshire, and it's got a beautiful beach, so I can just chill out. I can walk on that beach or do whatever just to calm my my thoughts or whatever, and I meditate a fair bit. And most things that you think that need to be addressed urgently normally aren't, because that's when you kind of make mistakes a lot of the time. You know, if it's an important decision, it needs to be sorted urgently. You have got to think on your feet, but you kind of got to take the emotion out of it. So maybe 3 years ago, I come across Stoicism through a guy called Tim Ferriss, who's actually got a podcast.
Yeah.
And I don't follow Stoicism, but I take parts from it. And I do that with most of my reading or most of my podcasts or most of my video, stuff on YouTube or anything like that. I'm an infinite learner. And if you take the parts that you need from something. So that's kind of how I stay calm through things. And actually, getting upset, having emotion, it's not going to change anything. Fear is just being scared of something that's not happened yet. So to get yourself, it's not getting mentally strong. It's just knowing how to react and how you react yourself. That's not mental strength. That's just a knowledge in yourself and a confidence in yourself that actually you know that the outcome's going to be okay. So
Yeah. Well, look, I'm sure running that many, big things that have a lot of impact, there would have been a lot of equally big challenges that have come along the way. And it sounds like all these things that you do put you in a good stead to be able to handle them as soon as they pop up. So has there been any particular challenge that you've struggled with the most in terms of your journey so far to this point?
Yeah, cash flow. And that is with most startup businesses. Everybody struggles with cash flow. And a lot of the time, the smaller the cash flow you need, the bigger the issue. Because it's in a business environment, if a business is worth an amount, it's easier to go raise £100 million than it is £100. So, and it's how you balance that and how you manage that, and it's knowing when to turn the tap on. So there's a famous thing with Reid Hoffman called blitz scaling, which like you guys with the podcast, if you'd got unlimited amount of funds now, would you push this out even more to the globe? Would you advertise? Would you do this? I would say not. I would say grow organically until you know that time. And that is a big thing in a business. It's knowing when to scale, when not to scale, getting product market fit, being at what we call MVP, which is minimal viable product. And they're technology terms, but it doesn't work with just technology. You could have a painting and decorating business and still be the same.
Mm.
So do you think a lot of businesses really just try to scale quickly? They're trying to kind of outgrow their shoes.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of the case. And a lot of businesses don't really understand or study business. And I don't mean from a book and having an MBA. I mean knowing how to actually scale a business and knowing their customer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'd be surprised how many people don't actually know their customer. And we live in an age of data that should never be the case. Everybody should know their customer. And the ones that do, get it right. You know, the amount of marketing agencies that I work with, that somebody will come in, they've started up a business, they come in and they say, I'd like a website. And they say, well, what's your budget? And they say, well, we haven't really got one. Could you give us a menu? And the marketing company will turn around and say, it's £10,000 to go build this website. Oh, well, I wasn't actually planning on spending that much. What can you do for £1,000? Well, we can build you a basic website. And then they think their business is done. And it's not. It's the start of your business. It's the window to your business, you know, and there's not enough businesses starting, I don't think, from early doors, early ages. So there's not enough pushed in schools. Young enterprise in the UK, which I think they do have in Australia, or a form of it, is fantastic. But teaching entrepreneurial skills and teaching enterprise into our younger generation is just absolutely crucial. I mean, the market in the UK, definitely in the area where I live, is something like 70% of the economy. So if that's 70% of the economy, you've got to encourage entrepreneurs. And actually, if you encourage entrepreneurship at an early age, you encourage entrepreneurship as well. So you don't have to be an entrepreneur and run your own business. You can be an entrepreneur, which is an entrepreneur in a business. But having that and having that skill set or that mindset is absolutely fantastic. The people who are like that shine in a business and move forward. You know, gone of the days of being reactive. You have to be proactive now. And lockdown has shown us this with so many people working from home.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that, you know, that you're noticing there's no real focus on building, you know, entrepreneurial skills through school, when this is the most impressionable time for someone to be able to figure out what they might want to do. And the thing is, there's so many people that don't necessarily want to go to university, that don't really want to do a trade, but they don't know what they want to do. And I know for me anyway, over here, and probably for Leroy too, throughout of our whole schooling career, not once was entrepreneurial skills mentioned. I probably didn't hear the word enterprise once. And I did business through year 11 and 12 too, but there was only focus on what business is, not how to grab something by the scruff of the neck and just, you know, run with it and try and actually build something yourself.
Yeah, and if you don't understand that, how can you be a manager in a business if you don't understand business? And at the end of the day, I've got a good friend. She's called Sharon Davis, and she runs Young Enterprise here in the UK, and it's a global initiative, Young Enterprise. So it's not just in the UK. And they go into schools, and they have teams in a school that actually go in a competition and they run their own business. They have a chief exec, they have a CFO, a chief financial officer, or FD, finance director. They have a full team in that business, and it is run like a business with their own bank account, own marketing, own everything. And I would say that this isn't planned, but the actual best thing about it is the kids in that pitch. So they pitch that business to actually win that competition. Well, that is most probably the biggest asset you could have as a young kid to move forward, because as soon as you're 15, 16 and coming out of school, everything is a pitch. So you go for your job, you've got to pitch in an interview. Girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, whatever that is, you've got to pitch. You're going on that first date and you've got to pitch to them. And you've got to have confidence in doing that. You know, everything, even to being later in life, you know, and doing your father's eulogy or whatever, you know, which is most probably the toughest pitch you will have to do in all your days. So, you know, just having that advantage to our younger generation is absolutely fantastic.
And that would just having that exposure from a young age, you know, if that's something they find they enjoy, like even if it's not a super thing that they're pitching, it's that thing of practice, fake it till you make it. You know, you've got to be able to sell yourself.
Yeah. So it's easy for people to say, oh, I don't want to speak in front of anybody or anything. Well, you know, this podcast is potentially going out around the globe. I'm here in the north of England, you're in Australia, you're in two separate parts of Australia. Yeah. All I'm doing is speaking to a computer screen.
Yeah, exactly. It's, yeah, we've
and if I panic, I can just pull the laptop down.
Exactly. You'd be surprised how many times I wanted to do that too.
Yeah. So I'm not actually in a job interview in an environment in front of people or anything like that. So it's kind of made that easier. But actually, you know, as much as you're not confident in it and you don't want to do it, and I mean, I'm very self-critical on this type of thing because I never went to school enough. And what I miss about school isn't exams, isn't all my schooling. It's how I talk and how I write. I write like a doctor, you know, and there's only virtually me who can read my writing. Luckily, with the latest phones, I mean, I've got the new Samsung S20 Note, and actually, if you write notes on this thing, it turns it into text as you write. So, you know, there's a lot of the things you think to yourself that a lot of the stuff you learn at school doesn't take you into later life, and actually it doesn't. But actually, being an infinite learner does. So I've interviewed plenty of people who don't know what they're good at, and actually they want to be a graphic designer or something. Well, actually, they'd make a great business development person. You know, they've got a total different skill set to what they know. You know, so I mean, I was never going to be a CEO of my company or whatever, and actually they came to me and said, actually, you'd be a great fit for the CEO, because what does a CEO actually do? Well, your CEO of your business is your number one salesperson. They've got to make sure that there's cash flow in a business and things. And actually, what I've got a degree in is sorting out crap. So, and that's it, because the technical side of things is everybody else. It's not you. You know, you've got to have an understanding, or a little bit of an understanding of it all, or you've got to have an understanding of your business, because if you haven't, you know, it's just going nowhere fast. And you know, a lot of people say you've got to have a passion, and I agree with that, but don't fall in love with the process. Don't have your passion that, you know, you love doing podcasts, but that isn't your business. Your business is actually entertaining people. Your end product, what you do, not how you do it. So, you know, somebody actually watching this on their device, could be anywhere in the world. That is what you do, and you either put a smile on the face or they think, who's this four-eyed kid from Lincolnshire? But it's that what you actually do, and you maybe don't even realise that yourselves, but you're not actually podcasters. You're in the entertainment game or the information game.
That's interesting. Going back to what you said before about infinite learning, what sort of things do you do to keep learning?
Oh, I'm avid on Spotify, on podcasts, and on YouTube and things. Yeah. Yeah,
There's so much amazing stuff.
not so much about the natural world and that type of thing, and about science, but more on people really. And I've always been even when I've gone on vacation, I've been a people watcher, and I love culture and different cultures, and so it's not that I love different cultures and I don't love different people, which I do. It's more how I can improve myself, and what sort of person do I want to be in the end, because you can become that person.
Yeah, and I guess it's just figuring out how to take the steps to actually get there. And yeah, it's a hard thing to do because I think people really struggle finding a way that they like to learn, and
Yeah,
everyone is so different.
there's a guy who works at Anderson Horowitz. So Anderson Horowitz are one of the biggest VC firms, private equity firms in the world, and Ben Horowitz has wrote a book called "You Are What You Do," and it's true, you are. So I might think to myself that actually I'm fairly fit, and I'm 54 years old, but you know, I tend to, the other year I lost 3.5 stone, and I know that I can do it if I want to at any point. I've piled a few pounds back on now. But actually, because I eat and I don't exercise enough, that is what I do. You know, and you know, and it's easy to lie to yourself or not actually understand yourself that you're your own culture, and a culture is what you do on a daily basis. And what you do on a daily basis is what you do, and that is your culture, and that's the person that you are. And you are quite capable of changing that.
I guess, look, the word culture brings me into something else I want to talk about too, because I think we have a lot to learn from someone uh, who's had a hand in so many different things and has watched people like us do so many good things and bad things. But one thing that I think would be good for me and Lyra to learn from, as in your place in terms of being the CEO of Fusion Interactive Tech, is how you actually create a business culture within that is what you actually want it to be.
So it's got to come from the top down, and I've got to be honest, I'm maybe not fantastic at it at times, but I would like to think, first of all, in any business, have a culture of hiring up, not hiring down. And normally, if you've got somebody who's fairly significant in a business, like a manager or a director, they'll tend to hire down a lot of businesses because they don't want to see somebody have a growth spurt and overtake their job or make them look bad. You know, and that is a terrible culture to have in a business where they've got backbiting and everything like that. And it's the business. If the business does well, it's despite that, not because of it. And so the two biggest assets in any business is the people in it and the culture, and that's it. You could be Apple, you could be Virgin, you could be Orange, you could be Nike. It's down to the people and the culture in that business, and that's not going to be, you can't hit the ground running with that. You know, that even the business needs to learn that as it goes. I mean, I know Richard Reed and Adam Ballon, who did Innocent Drinks, and they actually do Picture the Palace with me, and I sit alongside Adam. They had a great culture at Innocent Drinks, Innocent Smoothies, and but even so, they're so switched on, and they understand that having that culture gets the most out of their staff. So it actually grows their business. And so I try and encourage a business environment based on meritocracy. So it's based on merit. So who's done good gets rewarded for that. And also you need radical transparency. So if I've done not so good, I've got somebody I have to answer to. And that might be someone below me. You know, that could be the cleaner. You know, I could be walking in to the office one day, and if I chuck some rubbish on the floor, I'd expect that cleaner to say, "Hey up, where are you going? Do you realise what you've just done there?" And give me a grilling for that. And I shouldn't turn around to him and say, I employ you, I do this, I do whatever. I'd say, thank you very much. You're absolutely right. I'm so sorry. Because I'm taking the mickey out of that poor guy who does that for a living. And it's just not right. So, and that's how I foresee a good culture. Well, that's how I foresee a culture. Because I don't think you get a bad culture. You just don't have one. So
And
you either got a culture or you haven't. And
yeah,
if you
yeah.
it's normally a good one. If you haven't got a culture, it's bad.
Yeah, it just sounds like I completely agree. It's like you being at the top, you set the precedent. So if there's no good culture, it's toxic. It's a toxic environment. And the thing is, that cleaner's going to watch you do it, and then other people are going to watch him do it, and then it's just this cascading fall of, well, no one else wants this thing to grow this community of helping each other. Everyone's gonna be like, well, stuff it. Why would I do it too? So yeah, I
That's
think
right.
I think you're
And
spot on.
and you never want anybody behind a desk or driving into work and thinking, oh my God, I'm dreading coming into this office today. I'm dreading working in this environment, or I'm dreading doing this, or I'm dreading doing that. It's not, and I wouldn't ever be like that. I'm 54 years old, and at the end of the day, you've got choices. As a young man, I was quite blessed that I had quite an entrepreneurial father. So as a boy, I went to North Africa as a young man to work out there. And my dad, luckily enough, was in transport and forwarding. And I went out there and I was operations manager for his business. And he gave me, like your dad gives you a grilling and lays the law down for you, or when you go first wait for your parents. He turned around to me and says, you're the boss's son. You've got to be the first here and the last to go, and work the hardest, because everybody's going to be against you because they think that you're more privileged than them because you're the boss's son, and that they're going to be either calling you behind your back, they're going to be doing this. So you've got need people to like you. So just prove them wrong, and actually, I didn't maybe embrace that enough when I look back, working there. I got on with everybody. I do anyway. That's why I have such a following on social media and stuff. And a lot of my friends used to say I can get in where water can't because of my personality and things. And so that can deflect a lot of faults, I guess. But I never really embraced that enough with my father. And the other thing he said to me was, while you're here in Africa, you're going to see a lot of awful things. And people take that with them. So we was in Sudan where there was a lot of starving people. So he says, you may go to one of these camps, deliver aid, and there may be 20 children there who's passed away, who's in an open grave or something like that. Well, people can take that with them for the rest of their lives. Or, one of your close family members may die, you may go through a divorce, but your parents may die, which mine have. You can't take that with you, and you can't let that control your choices in life. So if you don't like your job, change it. And people who say, oh no, I'm stuck in a rut, I'm this, I'm that, you're not. There's always a way. It may take you time, and it's not going to be easy, but you can eventually do that.
Wow, your father
Yeah,
sounded like he
yeah.
has a lot of advice. Really shaped you.
Oh yeah, he was unbelievable. It's, I think, 35 years old, 40 years old. He was running one of the largest transport company in the UK, and he just up sticks. And because they went into refrigeration, he just moved to Saudi Arabia for 8 months, and then into North Africa. But we actually, as a family business, we shipped the majority of the food aid for Live Aid for Sir Bob Geldof. So yeah, we was having like 300 trucks a day with 80 tons of food on that. It wasn't massive profit margins because we was doing it for them guys, but it did have an impact.
Mm. And what do you love about entrepreneurship?
It's that having a deal, it's getting things done, and it's that sense of achievement. So don't love don't love the process, like I said before, love the end thing. So don't love building the business, love selling the business. You know, love that end goal, because it's that, otherwise you're not going to get to that goal. So yeah, and I just look, I love the people that I meet, really, more than anything, if I'm honest. So I get offered, as an angel investor and all these different things I do, I got offered to get into so many businesses, but it's the people that attract me. And if I get involved with business, I'll turn around to someone and I'll say to him, you've got to do two things. I've got to like you, and we've got to have clarity. So there's no hidden agenda. There's nothing that's going to come out in 6 months. You know, you're not planning on selling a business. You're not planning on doing this. We're on the same hymn sheet here, because, you know, I don't want to ever get in my car at God knows what time in the morning and think, I've got to go meet this idiot and I'm dreading it. And, you know, and the people who work for you shouldn't have to think like that either. The majority of your adult life will be spent at work for most people.
It's a scary stat.
And I did entrepreneurship, but I didn't take it serious till 40 years old. You know, at 30 years old, my best friend from school, we had a chain of pubs and nightclubs, and living like kings. I didn't take that serious. And actually, people used to say to me, if you could go back and tell your older self how things would be different for you now, and you would have a lot more money, and you would do this and you would do that. And I tell them, no, I wouldn't, because I was still the same person then. I wouldn't have listened. My mindset was totally different.
So what changed?
What was the main factor?
I think I ended up moving. I think 2011. I moved to, well, before that actually. I was based out of Cheshire and involved in a supermarket chain in the UK, and getting involved in, well, it was a former supermarket chain in the UK, and it was a property play, and we purchased 102 of these superstores, but 77 of them as a joint venture with Lehman Brothers. And actually, you at some point you realise that you're not actually playing at offices anymore. It's serious, and you're as capable as the guy sat across that boardroom, or you're as capable as somebody else. And it's not what changes. It's having that belief in yourself, and you actually realise that you're as capable, if not more capable, than someone else. Richard Branson started off by selling records. Who's to say that you can't? And I would say you'd do it better. You know, he did the carousel thing in the beginning, and you know, he famously nearly went to jail for taking the records out of the country over to France and claiming the tax and stuff like that, and all different things. And he's come to where he is now, but actually he's gone and employed a lot of people. I know he's had some bad press just lately with the airline and not putting his own cash back in and stuff like that. But it's no different to me or you. You know, the people on the Shark Tank, they are no different. We've all got 24 hours in a day. You can educate yourself just as much. Even having, even being dyslexic, anymore. In fact, Richard Branson is.
I think one of the biggest lies that I hear people say from my small amount of experience is that I don't have time. That's one, I can't stand hearing that one reason. We always have time. If you care enough, you have time, or you'll make time.
Yeah. So what I would say is, if you're going to go into an early stage business, and if this is in Australia and you're a young kid, and I mean, when I was at school, when I was 15, me and my friend had a paper round, and we got his father to build a trailer on the back of the bicycle, so that we could do 3 paper rounds instead of 1. And I think we ended up doing like 4 or 5 paper rounds at one point. And it's because we could carry more papers.
Yeah.
But there's, at an early age, if you're going to get into business, don't worry so much about the money. There's no stopping you. And actually, if you've got to work in another business while you do yours, if you say, "Oh, I'm tired and I haven't got enough time," you're not tired. You're uninspired.
I like that. You're not tired. You're uninspired.
I think,
Yeah,
yeah, that sounds like it's
yeah,
one of the,
we all have excuses in life. You know, I do it myself. I don't go to the gym enough, or actually, I haven't been to the gym since the last lockdown, and I have excuses for that, and that's what they are. They're excuses. But if you can be honest with yourself, and a lot of us aren't, you know, I can laugh about it. Well, I've got friends who say, you know, who get uptight, or they say, you know, oh, I haven't really put that much weight on, or I haven't done this, or I haven't achieved that, or I haven't done that. Well, you know, if you're honest with yourself, you can actually laugh at yourself, and you can actually go do something about it. But if you don't address that, you can't.
yeah. Well, look, I completely agree. I think laziness is such a big thing. And look, if we'll leave it on one last thing, because like I think there's a lot to take away from what we talked about. And I know me and Leroy I already know we're going to have a big old chat about everything we can and how we can apply it to our little business. But if there was one tip that either someone gave you or if you've heard along the grapevine, what would be your best tip for young adults to work on their own self-development?
Just that, work on your own self-development and be an infinite learner. You cannot talk well enough, and you cannot present yourself well enough. Work on that. Be an evangelist on yourself, because it's that what you sell. That is your USP, is you as a person. So you need to work on that. You know, always look smart. You know, it depends what you want out of life. You know, and I don't want to label anybody or anything like that, but it's how you present yourself is how you feel about yourself, if that makes sense. If you're turning, you know, the reason why people turn up in a suit to an interview is because how they feel in that suit, you know, or in that attire or whatever. But just be an infinite learner and work on yourself. So, you know, and if you surround yourself with people who are either better than you or bring out the best in you. And I would say that is a huge thing. And don't be that you're above anybody else. You know, I still knock about my friends from school and everything else like that. But if you're focused and you really want to push with your work and you want to be a microbiologist, knock about with 4 microbiologists. You know, immerse yourself in that, because actually, even if you're not going to do it, at least you can understand what's involved, and that's not the person that you want to be.
Well, Andy, there are some golden takeaways there, and I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. Like, I know there's a lot of things I'm going to take away from this, and Lyra would say the same thing. So, you know, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing some real gems of how to make yourself better and take a step into the world of entrepreneurship.
So, gents, what I would like to mention is I'm an ambassador for a thing in my hometown in the north of England called the Westerly Club. And where that comes from, my hometown used to be the largest fishing port in the world, if not one of them. I believe it was the largest fishing port in the world. And all the fishermen back in the 40s and the 50s, when they came back into port, they turned to their Westerly for support. And so that is the essence of the Westerly Club and where the naming came from. And it's an initiative to actually support and help men's mental health in our local area. And actually, I think it will grow nationally, if not internationally, from this, by the amount of momentum that we've got in it. And it's a Facebook group. It's on social media, but you can also, it's run by a company called Fortis Therapy, a friend of mine, Alexis Powell Howard, and she's absolutely brilliant. She teaches she's a mental health psychologist and everything for the police force, for schools, for all these different things. And they're doing absolutely fantastic things with it. I mean, I can't really do it justice, but just by being in that program, to see the amount of people that I've known who are friends who's had issues or has been on some sort of medication or whatever, it's absolutely shocked me, the actual size of it.
Yeah, I can't help but agree with that, especially mental health. I'm not gonna lie, till this year, mental health was sort of it was there and I was here. It was something that I never really addressed or even felt, but just this year alone, in myself and in my friends, I've just seen how important it is to look after your mental health, because that you can have everything going well for you, but if it's not going well in here, it just it's just
Well, there's a massive taboo. So
yeah.
as men, we're brought up to come into the world that you're going to go out and you're going to provide for your family and you're going to provide that mental toughness for everybody. Well, actually, I've got to be honest, normally women are more tougher than men because they carry a baby around for 9 months and it pops out this small little hole between the legs, and then they've got to look after it. And so, if I know for a fact a lot of men aren't as tough at handling issues and handling things as what a lot of women are. But, and I've always had that in the back of my mind, but it's only through this that I've realized that the struggles that some people go with. And actually, what you don't want is to be in a conversation like us now in this chat room and someone have an issue and them not say. And then 2 weeks later, they may not, God forbid, they might not be here. And you think to yourself, why didn't I say anything? Or why didn't I get on the phone? Or why didn't I send them a text message? So, and I think this lockdown thing, which is going to keep going and going and going for a period at least, we all need to check up on those people, not just close to us, but who have been close to us in days gone by.
Yeah, we talked to a Australian radio host. He runs an organization called Got You for Life. And one thing he said to me that really, really hit home, even though I sort of knew it, was don't worry alone. And I've just been playing that in my head. When I'm feeling shit, I just message Sam, and as soon as I sort of verbalize that, it just takes this weight off my shoulders and just sort of relaxes me a bit and just makes things a lot easier to navigate. So it's so important.
Well, we get immersed in the moment, and we get immersed in that event, and we don't really, a lot of the time we don't take an helicopter overview. And actually that's what you've got to do in business. As much as you've got to be microscopic and jump on something when it's needed, you've also got to take an helicopter overview and a distance look to actually think and do that to yourself. Because actually, when how many times do you look back and you think, why was I ever stressed over that? So if you can do that in the instant and actually take an helicopter overview and actually just say, don't worry about it right now. You can get a cup of tea or whatever, speak to somebody. It doesn't even necessarily need to be about that. Just give yourself a breath and take a knee and actually just spend that. And that's what meditation is really. It's just taking that space, that time. But, you're not alone. It's the amount of people who's, especially since lockdown, it's done that more. And I think lockdown has shown us what we don't need, not what we need.
Yeah.
So we don't need things. But what we do need, we need our relationships, our friends, someone to talk to, someone to interact with. You need the simple things, not the things that you can go buy.
Well, Andy, I think those are some golden words, and from you too, Leroy. So I just want to say thanks so much for once again. We've said thanks before, but mental health is another really important thing to us, and it's really I guess clarifying for me, hearing that it's not just people on the in the usual levels, like I guess the usual human beings. Like these things are prevalent the whole way up the chain. It doesn't matter who you are. Like there's
for sure.
See the tip of the iceberg, and then there's everything else beneath it. But some people don't even look for the iceberg, and they don't even know that it's there. So I think being able to become aware that it's there, and
I've got a friend whose wife passed away, and she was 33, I think, and he's 34, and he found her that she'd taken her own life, and him and the kids had found her and everything. He's a hero. He's even gone and taken. He hasn't just taken counselling. He's actually studied to be a counsellor for his kids.
Mm.
So he's absolutely for me. He's one of life's heroes. It's not Johnny Wilkinson kicking a rugby ball. It's the real deal. And you tend to find that.
Yeah, that's so tough, because in a situation like that, most people would just, recede back into this horrible dark cave. But instead, he was like, you know what, this situation is horrible, but I am going to do everything I can to help those around me, and especially his children, because it would be just as bad for them. And it's quite powerful that when you can put yourself out of your comfort zone, and probably somewhere where you don't want to be initially, but for the greater good.
Well, what is amazing is that he can talk about it. And so, it's only like I don't think it's only like a year ago. I think it's not very long in the grand scheme of things. And the fact that he wants to talk about it and help others. In fact, I could maybe even I could even ask him if he'd even come and do a podcast with you guys, because I think he'd be inspirational if he would.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Again, with a Westerly club, if there's anybody in Australia who not so much want to get involved in it, but want to understand about it to go do their own Westerly club or their own side of that thing, and all it is, it's a Facebook group of individuals on WhatsApp or whatever the format might be, but it's where you don't get judged. And that is the biggest thing. And I think that's maybe one of my biggest advantages in life, is that I don't judge people. I don't look at somebody black or white or male, female, or anything like that. You can't tell people how to live. They've got to do that themselves. And so, and you can't control that. So if you can't control that, why judge it?
Yeah, exactly. I guess it goes the same way for what you think other people think about you. You can't control what they think about you, so stuff them. Do what you believe is right.
That's nothing to do with me. That's not my bag. If somebody's watching this and they think, "Oh, you absolute idiot," I can't. It's not that I've got control of it or I haven't got control of it. It's actually none of my business.
Yeah. Well, Andy, we'll wrap it up there. But look, I'd be so excited to catch up with you sometime in the near future to potentially record another episode.
Sure we will do again.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy.
And if I can help with anybody from the UK to actually come on to the 4 a.m. club, because I think it's absolutely brilliant. And what you guys have just gone and done, and just for two friends to do this is amazing. And you maybe can't, but I can foresee where this is going. I think you're going to do great things, and you're going to help a lot of people.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll do our best. Well, thank you so much, and we know it's the evening over there, so have a good sleep, and we'll do our best to have a good day.
Okay.
See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.